Hi everybody, Curtis here from Goth Rider Creations, and in today's episode we're going to get on with the sanding, the filling and the priming of the Silent Zombie. Again. Take two. Yeah. Stay tuned. So, here we are, Groundhog Day, 6 months early. Yeah, so this is where we left it last time, all primed up. If I'm honest, I was in here all day yesterday. I did it off camera because I just wanted to crack on. So I have completely sanded this thing to within an inch of its life. I think I ended up taking about 2 mil, a mil off the top, a mil off the back, just to get all of that wood glue off. It is now sorted. Top is now dead flat, everything is organised. The back, same again, all taken down, all sanded. Unfortunately I had to go down so deep that I even messed up the original spacings, the depths for the electronics. So I went through yesterday and I rerouted all the tops of the cavities, and I actually did a test fit of all the electronics, so I know absolutely everything is going to fit. With that in mind, I also shaved down the hatch for the electronics, put it the right way around, so that goes in perfectly flush. Sorted out the screws so they go down enough, and I whacked a coat of primer on that. So now it's just a case of sanding and filling and painting over and over again. Now, after the fiasco of the last episode, I went and got some of this. Now, I have been using this brand of product for over 30 years. My father was probably using it for about 20 years before that, so I definitely trust this stuff. Now, this is a modern day pre-mixed, I believe it is some kind of a all-round filler, and this is good for internal, external decorating. You can drill it, you can tap it, you can do pretty much anything with this stuff. It is very, very good stuff. And because no one really uses it, because it's an old school brand, I picked this up for, like, I think it was just under £3 in B&M. So yeah, definitely something to use. What I did was a little test piece just to make sure. I literally just carved some random bits into that and then filled it, then sanded it, and then primed it. And on this bottom section here, you can't see anything but wood grain. So I am really happy with that. So I'm just gonna get cracking. It's meant to be, you're meant to leave it sort of 6 hours before you sand it. It also stipulates in the instructions, and do always read the instructions, people, that you cannot use it at a depth shallower than 3mm. Now, I know that not to be the fact. I think it might have been back in the day, people were putting a tiny skim on something and then expecting someone to be able to put a bolt in it, and it said, oh, you can drill and tap it. So they're kind of a bit cautious, but I have done the test piece. I know it works, so I am literally going to get cracking. Going to cover this whole thing, any of the scratches, any of the dings, anything there, any obvious grain that's popping through, and yeah, hopefully we'll do a lot better than last time. Oh, and there we have it. So, as you can see, I have just basted the whole thing. Don't worry, this stuff sands off so easy, it's not an issue. So this is absolutely fine. I just figured if I go heavy on the first coat, because it is so easy to sand, I can get pretty much everything done in one run, and then any little pinholes, any little tiny bits I've missed, I can just go in and just fine touch those, two and done. Fingers crossed. So that's all done. Now we're going to do something really different. We're going to start work on the neck. So here we have the neck. The fretboard is actually in not too bad condition. It will need a little sand just on some of these little kind of nicks and scratches. The frets are actually in really nice condition. They have been rounded over. They've not had a lot of wear, so that's pretty good. Still undecided what I'm going to do with the fret dots. If I get time, I might match them in with the plans we have for the other additions to this guitar. But if I don't have time, I won't worry about it. The nut, we're keeping with the original, so that's easy. Anything I've got to do is get rid of these silly little stickers that someone's put on there. Makes sense if you're just starting out, but yeah, they look naff, and if I'm going to be painting this thing, they've got to go. So first job is Universal Spirits and a bit of tissue, get that cleaned off, and then we'll remove the machine heads, and then we're ready for business. Well, that was a little bit harder than I was expected. I'd not experienced these kinds of collars. They seem to be press fit rather than the usual sort of 8 or 10mm spanner socket, whatever. But yeah, if anyone knows, please let me know. The sort of press-in collars at the front, are they an old school thing, or are they just a cheap guitar thing? Because I've not seen that, but hey. Anyway, that lot is all off, and with the all cleaned up, I'm going to cut up the headstock. Right, and I'll do it. Now, some of you are probably a little bit confused, thinking, what on earth are you doing, Curtis? But the plan was always to modify the headstock. Mrs. Goth Rider didn't want the neck to be just a bolt-on from another, so she has custom designed her own headstock, and the design made it about 3/4 of an inch longer than the original headstock was. So thankfully it's a much slimmer design, so I just figured cut the end off. It's the same thickness, it's the same material, so that'll be fine. I don't have any clamps that will really help on this area, so I've just done the old wood glue in the middle, super glue either side, done. So we'll let that cure up, and then in the next episode, I don't think I'll try it this time, I'll finish off cutting out the bits we don't need, and then we can start shaping up the bits we do need, and then I can actually show you the design. So that done. I hate to say this, but let's get back to the sanding. And now it's all nice and dry, so let's get this sanded off. So there you have it, sanded down and primed. I'm going to have to leave this overnight to dry as usual, so I'm going to go in, get cleaned up, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hi everyone, back for day 2, and same again really, just going to get sanded now that the primer's dry. Once that's cleared off, we can see if there's any more filling needs doing. The only difference is I've taken a bit of advice from my friend Todd at Sweet D Guitars, and I have bought some of the soft foam sanding pads from the Lex Luthor wants to go to space.com. Sorry, I mean the Bezos funding site, Amazon, sorry. So yeah, I'm generally not a fan of using blocks. I've always found them to be more of a pain in the arse than they're ever needed to be, but when you get down to this kind of fine stuff, you have to use a block. You can't really get away with just hand sanding, because the likelihood of actually putting finger dips into it, it's quite real. So at this point you kind of have to use a block, and I do like the idea of these ones where you can just take the circular sanding pads, velcro it on, and you're away. So let's get started on that now. Right, and there you have it. So we've gone back over the whole thing with the sanding block on 150, because that's what it was sanded to previously, and we've literally gotten rid of all of the sheen on the primer. Now I haven't minded if I've gone down to wood in any places, because I will reprime again. Basically what I've used this coat of primer for is a guide coat. It's a term mostly used in car body painting, and what you do is you spray on whatever primer you have, fill any of the big stuff, prime again, and then sand. And then if you're not sure if you can still see any differences, or you can't tell what's a scratch or what's not, you paint over a layer of contrasting paint normally. What I've done is use the primer because I can see a sheen on the top of it. So all I've done is gone through now and sanded until there is no more sheen, and then if there is any slight areas that are shiny, you know those are low spots, and then you can go in and fill as necessary. So this is now absolutely smooth and lovely. So I'm going to get everything else sanded to that point, then I'll know what I need to fill. Right, and there we have it. Everything's sanded down. I'm not going to keep going and showing you any more of the sanding and the priming, because I've got at least one more sand and at least 1 or 2 more coats of primer, so I'll do that off camera. But this is now basically done. All the finish is off, everything is cleaned up. I've cleaned up all of the cavities, so they're now nice and neat, and I'm calling that done. So that's that. Once the neck's glued up, this will be ready to go, and yeah, I can start showing you some of the modifications we're doing on this thing, and then we can finally paint it. So yes, as always, please like, please subscribe if you haven't already, throw us a comment and let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one, hopefully for some actual progress. Take care.